Okay, so basically that's it. I don't know if Pedro, are you already ready for to start your session, Pedro?
Hi guys, good morning. Good morning. Yeah,
Morning.
whenever you want to.
Okay,
We
yeah,
still
because
have.
I think you see that in here. I already, it's really hard in my back. Okay, the guys are just putting some tape here so that I can't pass the other side. Okay, so I'm stuck here for the whole day with you guys. Okay. Okay, so let's go for Pedro's session. Okay, so I will just stop presenting in here, and I'm sure that you can start. Oh, you're in Microsoft today.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
With
Sunny,
himself.
sunny, yeah, with himself. Amazing. And
Yeah.
it's sunny at this time in Seattle. Oh my God, amazing, Pedro.
That's weird. That is
You're a
really
magician.
strange.
You're a magician.
Just decided to remind us all of the wonderful days that we had last year in Seattle while at Microsoft with almost all the Portuguese MVPs there and wonderful days with sunny days and lots of fun, learning new stuff all together. So I've decided to remember those days. Um, well, we still have some minutes before 10, but we have lots of people here. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here on a Saturday. Like Tiago and Virgilio said, we thought about not going through with these events, and it crossed our mind for 5 seconds, and we said no. So let's go virtual and do it anyway, because we really like to share knowledge and be with you, if not in person, at least virtual. My session is about Azure Monitor, and let me just minimize here so I can first, because I always forget to open the last slide, I would like to thank our sponsors, Microsoft, of course, and also the European Cloud Summit. As Tiago said, we don't know for sure how these events are going to happen, but we'll keep you posted also on the meetup. So be sure to follow us there and watch for the news. My name, as you know, is Pedro Sousa. I'm a senior IT operators analyst at Basecon, which is a Wolters Kluwer group company, or belonging to the group. I'm also an Azure MVP, and you have there my contacts, my Twitter handle, my email, and also my LinkedIn. If you want to ask questions, if you need help with Azure, feel free, just send me a message, send me an email, drop me an email, and I will do my best to help you. If you have further questions about this session, which is being recorded, as Tiago said, and is going to be available online for later. If you have questions, just drop me an email. For sure you will have, because Azure Monitor, which we are going to talk about today, Azure Monitor is fairly complex. So we don't have time in 1 hour to go through everything about Azure Monitor. Last year, we were, and also a picture of brighter days. Last year, we were together in Lisbon, and also I was talking about Azure Monitor. This was taken during the event. I don't know, I think was Virgilio took the picture. So credits to him. And I spoke about Azure Monitor last year. So why speak about it again? Well, because we have new stuff to show, and because, as I've said, it is a very broader hat over Azure and over your network infrastructure, and also over other clouds that you manage if you have a mixed environment. But before we start speaking about Azure Monitor, let me pause here for a minute and say that I hope that all of you attending this event are safe, you and your families. Say also that these are different times that we are living with different, can I put it in English, difficulties and challenges. And also these events and these meetups between community are very, very different. We all have our kids attending school from home, our kids at home, and because of that, and let me pause here, because of that I had to create, for instance, for my kids, let me swap here to this one. I had to create some fun stuff for my kids, and what I did was I've created a Minecraft server for my son and my niece, for them to play with each other and also be together and also have a safe environment where they can play. Why am I saying about this? Why am I talking about this? Because I'm using this Minecraft server as a demo here today also. One thing that I want to do is also make sure that my son and my niece don't abuse the playing. So I monitor the virtual machine with Azure Monitor. Also, before I go through the talk about Azure Monitor, I want to give a very big hug to my friend, Sandro Pereira, and share with you a story. Sandro has one of his youngest son, Zé. The last 2 weeks has been calling me from Sandro's cell phone on Facebook Messenger, on WhatsApp, etc., etc. For you to have an idea, I get about between 10 to 20 phone calls each day while I'm working from home and in meetings. So today I've decided I will retribute to Sandro, and this will be done by setting up something on Azure Monitor. So I will start here before I go into the presentation itself. So this screen that you're seeing now, it's Azure Monitor, and I will talk about this later, but let's set up here an alert already. And how do you can see here I already have some alerts. Those were tests I was doing this week to make sure we have everything ready for our session. And I will go here to manage actions. As you can see, I have here an action. Let me just zoom in so you can see it better. I have here an action group called All Hands on Deck, which means something really bad is happening. And to show you the settings, this action group, basically what we have is here in my subscription, I've configured for a particular resource group, I've configured that I would get an email. So to tease a little bit about with Sandro, I'm going to add here also Sandro Pereira. And as you can see here, we have multiple types of actions. I will detail this later, but I'll choose also an email and have here my greatest friend, Sandro dot Pereira at devscope.net. This is Sandro's email. Okay, and I'm going to save this. So now Sandro belongs to my 24 hours action group, all hands on deck. If an alarm rings, he will be called also. So going back to the alert, the monitor alert, I will manage my alert rules. I will show you later how to create a rule. I already have one here, which is called Tpu Alert. Okay, I will show you the specifics of this alert in a minute. I'm going to enable this alert. So I will disable this at the end of the event, but between now and I believe Sandro's session is 4 o'clock, I bet you will receive a tons of email because I set the alarm for 10% CPU, which you can imagine playing Minecraft 10% CPU is fairly easy to get to. Sandro, have fun. So back to our presentation. Fun apart, and let's go through Azure monitoring. Well, first of all, the process of monitoring implies that you start by planning your monitoring strategy. And what I mean by planning your monitoring strategy, it means that you have to understand first what should be monitored and who needs to be notified. As you said, as you've seen, I've created an alert that triggers a notification for myself and for Sandro. Second, you need to understand your SLAs. You need to understand the latencies and the urgency, because not all alert situations or monitoring needs alerts, and some alerts you need to understand that for some I need rapid action, and for some I need only to know that something is going wrong, but I don't need urgency. Third, you need to understand data privacy. One thing that monitoring should always consider is what information are we going to expose to those that are alerted, and also to our dashboards, our BI reports, etc., our visualizations. Nowadays, especially in Portugal, especially in European countries, we need also to consider which data we are showing. Then we also have to consider the retention of the data. An example, when we are looking through security issues, usually if you don't have a proper monitoring setup, you can be faced with issues like, oh, I need to know if that user logged in 3 months ago, and then you go look through the logs and you have no data anymore. So data retention and which data should you retain for long periods of time is a very important thing. Not only to have the data when you need it, but also because of the billing. As you know, more data for more time means more spending. This is your planning. After, and of course, the compliance requirements, I was forgetting about this one. Also, requirement compliance is also a major factor that you need to plan or to watch over while designing your strategy. Second, the design of the monitoring architecture itself. What this means is deciding the number of workspaces that you need, configure the data retention that you previously set up, and choose, for instance, in application insights, if you need a separate or a single application insights resource. If you have a single, you will aggregate on the same resource group, you will aggregate all the information from your application. In some cases, it will be interesting to have a separate one. I will advise you to read the documentation. For instance, you can go through the docs that Luis Silva mentioned before, or I've searched, and you have also here on the Learn on Microsoft.com on docs, you have already 10 modules or learning paths about Azure Monitor you could consider. Going back to the presentation, if you have questions, just text them on the chat, because we have Virgilio here helping me and watching over the chat. Okay, so interrupt if you need to ask questions. Okay. Well, going back, the third is the onboarding. The onboarding will depend on what kind of objects, let's call it this way, objects, what kind of objects you are monitoring. If they are on Azure, if they are on-prem, if you need to deploy the agent and install the agent on a server. If it is an Azure resource, one thing that you need to read about, and I say read about because I don't have, as I told you before, I don't have much time, but one thing that you should read about is the difference between Azure Diagnostic Extension and the agent. What does it mean, one and the other? Another thing that we need to take care of is the automation of the onboarding. And you can do this by using Azure Automation DSC, the disaster configuration. You can use the Azure CLI or PowerShell. You can use ARM templates, or you can use Azure Policy. Then, going back to automating actions and remediations, our step 4. We need to configure actionable alerts. Actionable alert, like the one I configured previously, sending an email, for instance, or making a phone call, or integrating with other systems like, let's say, Opsgenie, for instance. I use, at this moment, Opsgenie to send me SMSs or phone calls of T1 alerts, high-level alerts. This is the automation. Then set up your alert workflow, set up your auto-scaling. Some alerts, some issues can be solved by simply having automation and workbooks that set up auto-scaling and scale up or scale down our infrastructure. And I see a question there from Marcus. He's asking if it's possible to monitor anything on Azure, including VMs, apps, and sites. This is a very good question. Yes. Many of the Azure resources are already set up for monitoring. You just need to create the resource and go to the Insights tab. I will show it a little bit later. Okay, but that's a very good question. The fifth step is to optimize our implementation and our diagnostics. And here you can benefit from, for instance, machine learning and smart detection and diagnostics. All of these tools are already available on Azure, and you can use them, for instance, with automation accounts, with runbooks too. If I see a particular metric going to a value, I can configure a threshold that scales up, scales down. Imagine, for instance, that you have Azure firewall or DDoS protection. I don't expect as humans to watch over Azure firewall logs or DDoS protection and take actions on these logs by ourselves. So what we do is we configure alerts, we configure thresholds to act, or at least to alert us that something is going on and we need to watch over those.
So, Pedro, we have one other question from Mario, which is, can Azure Monitor be used to monitor an AKS cluster and the pods running inside it?
Yeah, well, Azure Monitor has a specific area to monitor containers, and this is when I spoke last year about Azure Monitor, this was being developed at the moment, and we had some issues still monitoring the pods and monitoring the containers itself. And now you already have, and I'll show it in the portal. I won't show it live because I don't have at the moment an AKS cluster on my subscription, but you will see there's an option there specific for containers. That's something that for sure is one of the major technologies being developed at this moment, AKS, I mean, in containers, and for sure you can monitor. Okay. Going back here to my last step, and 6, communicating and collaborating. So you need to ensure that the data access has the proper rights, so that people that need to access Azure Monitor data are the people that should access the data. And you can use, for instance, rollback access as RBAC to set up the proper level. You can integrate or collaborate with other tools. I already spoke about Opsgenie, but I can say, for instance, Azure DevOps, GitHub, Jira. I don't know if you use Jira, I do. You can use Ops chat like Microsoft Teams and send your messages to Microsoft Teams, to Slack if you use Slack. Use different visualization like Azure Portal Dashboards, Grafana. I don't know if I have time, but if I do, I will show you. I have set up a very simple Grafana server to monitor that Minecraft server my kid is using. And also you can connect to analytics like workbooks on Azure Monitor workbooks, like Power BI, and you can ping my friend Rui Romano, I think he's here also on the chat. He is the top guy on Power BI that I know of. So we can help you build some amazing dashboards. Well, so this is the architecture of the conceptual architecture of Azure Monitor. As you can see on the left, we have application, infrastructure, Azure platform, and custom sources. These are the sources of data where you collect your telemetry, where you collect your metrics, where you collect your logs. These are what you collect, the objects you collect. And then on the right, you have all the options for getting insights. And as you can see on the top, you have application insights for your web apps, for instance. You have containers, regarding that question previously. You have, well, Virgilio is asking me for control.
No, sorry, it was by mistake. Sorry.
It was a mistake.
Is on the right next of...
Every guy on team clicks on the
yeah.
And then you have also on Insights, you have virtual machines, network. Here in network, you can monitor, for instance, live wire traffic, and then you can have the visualizations. I will show you the dashboard also. Down there you have, let me use this because it's easier. Okay, and here. Found the laser. You can configure alerts, that alert action groups, and on action groups you can send emails, as you've seen, or you can also integrate with logic apps, event apps to send the information to other things like Power BI, for instance, or a nice dashboard. And you can also ingest or export the data to through APIs to other systems. An example, the Grafana that I spoke before. So let's split this into several parts.
Okay, so Pedro, we have a question on chat from Charvel. I hope I've read your name right. In a hybrid cloud scenario, what are all the features of Azure Monitor available to monitor on-prem resources?
A very good question. If you give me 5 minutes, less. If you give me 2 minutes, I will go through that infrastructure part and you'll have your answer. So first, here on REST API, if you have a webhook, if you have an API that you can call, then you can collect data through that API, collect metrics or logs, and send it to Azure Monitor. Regardless of this custom source being on-prem, being on another cloud, okay? If you have Azure resources are zero instrumentation, which means they already are ready to collect logs and metrics. I can relate, for instance, when you create a virtual machine, one of the steps is the possibility of activating diagnostics on the VM. Those diagnostics, you have boot diagnostics, which collect the log from the boot process, and you also have diagnostics of the virtual machine itself. If you look at the VMs, they already have the Azure Monitor extension. So a resource can integrate without anything. It's out of the box, ready to. Infrastructure. By infrastructure,
sorry, Pedro, we have here another question. It's from Alexandre. How often should the external dashboard software synchronize with app insight data, considering data volume performance impact? ? Example, Power BI or other proprietary BI software.
Let me read the question again. Sorry. How often should the external dashboard synchronize, considering data volume performance impact for BI? Okay. Well, Alexandre, I don't think we have an answer for your question. You have to consider that first, the injection of data and the export of data is billable. So you need to think that how often and which granularity do you need for your data? Okay, do I need a minute by minute ingestion of data, or it's a system I can have, for instance, a 5-minute period of sampling, a 15-minute period of sampling? Please remember that regardless of external dashboard software, remember that Azure Monitor itself is built by the data you collect and also by the sampling that you collect. An example, imagine that you have on a, and let me relate with this infrastructure so I can go further on the presentation. Imagine that you have an on-prem data center, and on those on-prem data center, you can have 2 ways. Someone is vacuum cleaning out.
That's a good time for that.
Thanks. Sorry, guys. I'm going back. Imagine that you have, for instance, on your data center, you have your servers, and you can monitor your servers using Operations Manager on-prem, TACOM. You can integrate Operations Manager from on-prem directly with Azure Monitor. So Operations Manager will collect data from your on-prem environment, and then the Operations Manager will send the information to Azure Monitor, and you will aggregate on Azure Monitor the on-prem data with the Azure data. If you don't have Operations Manager, you can install the agent on Windows or Linux on your on-prem and collect this data directly from the servers you want to monitor. If one of those servers is, for instance, a domain controller, and you have a very big network, and you log information, for instance, on the security logs, you log logins and log-offs of the users, you can ingest a large amount of data. And if you are using a third party or an external dashboard like Grafana or others, you can incur on a large amount of cost.
Okay, Pedro, we have here some more questions. The first one is, what is zero instrumentation? Okay. And there is another one from Tiago that says, what do you think about replacing System Center Operations Manager, so SCOM, with Azure Monitor? Okay, so we have those 2 questions.
Okay.
And by the way, just to let you know, Sandro actually already posted an image on the chat.
That is being spammed.
Yeah, that is being spammed by your alerts.
Being spammed by alerts. I know. By the way, I'm also being spammed. Okay, so I'm also receiving emails on my personal email, and I will show it later if I have the time. So regarding the questions, what is zero instrumentation? Let me go from the slide to the portal itself, and game on. I'm going to be spammed by Sandro also. When I go to the portal, I will show you an example of zero instrumentation. Okay, I will show you that my virtual machine, you just go on the side menu on the left, and it's already there, the metrics. And the only thing I did was create the virtual machine. Okay, so that's zero instrumentation. You don't have to do anything to make it work. Going back here to the agent and to the last one, the application. The application, it's the support that Microsoft has for a very different amount of languages. You can build, as you know, applications on ASP.NET, ASP.NET Core, Node.js, etc., etc., etc. Virgilio is more knowledgeable about this than me. I'm not a developer at all. But you can use Azure Monitor to get
Pedro, just a quick stop. Sorry, I think you were planning to show the Azure portal, right?
Yeah.
But it's showing up the slide share still.
Yes, I know. I'm going there. Thanks. So regardless of the language you use, you can monitor App Insights. Let me go a little bit faster because I think I only have 15 minutes. We started a little bit earlier, but I want to give you guys also a break and want to show some things in the portal. So finishing here this side, we've seen what the sources of data that we collect and what kind of data can we collect. We can split it by two things. First, metrics. Metrics are numeric values that describe a specific aspect of a system, and it's always identified by a timestamp, a name, a value, and optionally you can have a label that distinguish a tag that you can distinguish for a particular system. Logs are events that occur within a system. You can consider them, for instance, security logs, application logs, event logs, everything that you have, for instance, on a Windows, that you have on Event Viewer, things that you have, for instance, on IIS, on the IIS logs, or on a Linux system, things that you have on dash logs folder for a particular service. So this is metrics and this is logs. And yes, I'm going back to the portal. So finished with the slides. I only have slides for wrap up. So now it's time to go here. Starting by that question about zero instrumentation. This is my Minecraft VM. As you can see here, I already have graphs about CPU, network, disk, operations, and bytes read and written on disk. This here in the middle is zero instrumentation. I didn't do anything for this to appear on the virtual machine dashboard. Also, here on the left menu, you can go here. As you can see, there's a section called monitoring. And in this section, I have insights about the virtual machine. We click here on performance, and you will see I already have zero instrumentation, and I already have insights about this virtual machine. You have here on the top information about the disk. So here. And here you have graphs about CPU usage, available memory, IOPS, latencies, etc. All of these are out of the box, zero instrumentation. I just created a VM, nothing else.
So we have a question from Rafael. It says, can you create alerts or actions according to baselines if your metrics.
I will show it. I will show it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me go further, or I I won't be able to show it. So give me 10 minutes before the next question. Okay. So going back here to the zero instrumentation and to the graphs. As you can see, when I move my mouse over the timeline, it's not only I have a pop-up showing me the values, I also have the other graphs. I have a marker. Tell me if you can see it. Virgilio, help me here. You can see this?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So you have a marker and you can relate, for instance, you can see a spike there on logical disk on the bottom right graph. And I can relate that with the specific point where I am. I was speaking about this here, this spike. Okay, so it's useful to correlate data between CPU, available memory, network, etc., etc., etc. Here on the right, I have events grabbed from the logs of the machine, and you can see a list of you can see a list of event types I'm collecting, and also how many events I'm collecting from that specific event type. For instance, performance, I'm collecting loads of events from. Here in performance, you have those CPU alerts that are spamming Sandro. Talking about alerts, you can see from the dashboard on the virtual machine now that I already have alerts being fired by this virtual machine during this timestamp. Also, let me go here on the top. You have this map. This is also zero instrumentation. If you go here, I have the virtual machine, and you can see here which clients are connected to my virtual machine. I have 3 clients connecting to my Minecraft, which is running 25 processes. I can list those. It's a bit slow. I can list which processes are running. And here, let me zoom out. I can see which ports this VM is opening to the outside. Let me click here. Which ports are opening and how many clients are connected to each port. This is all out of the box. I can also see and expand here data and see how many clients are connected here on the right and what they are connected to. Okay. Here I have a quick way of going to the workbooks. Workbooks are like recipes that you can share with your colleagues. Imagine that you have someone that doesn't know a lot about creating dashboards and creating metrics. You can create these for your infrastructure, and you can, let me swap here from the heartbeat to something else. I don't know, processor usage, for instance. And you can share those with your colleagues. For instance, you see here, my son started playing. I asked him to play during my presentation so he could spike the CPU. And you can share these books with your colleagues. What I'm using is collected from the gallery, so I don't have my custom ones here. This is just everything out of the box that you have. As you can see, from last year to this year, we have a huge increment of dashboards and insights that you can collect. Okay, I hope that you understood what zero instrumentation is. So going back here to Azure Monitor, and because I don't have much time left, on the top you have alerts, metrics, and logs. Starting by alerts. Alerts are split into two sides. First, the actions, and going back here to my group, I will create a group from scratch. Oh, no, let's go back here. It's easier. When I selected for this action group Sandro, you could see here a list, and on this list you have several options. You have automation runbooks, so you can use an automation account and specify that the action that will be taken will be run by whatever you put on this automation runbook. You can call an Azure function. You can email a specific role using IAM on Azure. You can email, what I did previously with Sandro and myself, and also you can use other systems of IT management. You can use Logic Apps, and this one you can ask Sandro about. He knows much more about Logic Apps than I. Or you can use webhooks, and with that webhooks you can, if you look through the APIs of your systems, you can learn how to send API calls to those. Going back on the alert rules, this is related to the question about the CPU and sending email. I have this CPU alert that is already running, but I will create a new one. First of all, you select the resource. You can see here, I'm selecting, let's choose virtual machines. In the resource type, it's listing all of my virtual machines. I will select, where is it? My Minecraft server. Okay. And this is the resource I want to alert by. Select the conditions. For this specific resource, I can select a metric. I can select an activity log. I will choose a metric. On activity log, for instance, we could say, okay, let's choose by X amount of failed logon attempts. And you can have an alert, an email saying, okay, someone is failing the password too often on a short period of time. That could be, for instance, a sign of someone is trying to break into your network. Going back, metrics, I'm going to choose CPU because it's easiest. You can see here some data for the past 6 hours. Okay, I will extend this to 3 days. This is just a sample. And from here, you can see the trends of this. You can see the trends of this virtual machine. So as you can see, when I chose the value of a 10% threshold, it was fairly low. When you set a value here, you can see a dashed line. This one, see? And you can tweak it also on the line. Then you have the granularity. I want a period of 5 minutes and a frequency of 1, which means every minute I'm going to check the CPU value, and I will aggregate those. I will average those 5 times 1 minute in one period. Okay. Then I select the action group that I set previously. And here you can select that all hands on deck email. So if my CPU reaches 90%, and I believe that was the question from Rafael, if my CPU reaches 90%, now I've connected the action group here, who receives the email, etc., to my resource, the virtual machine, and the state, the condition of CPU reaching an X value of 90%. Then here you specify the rule name, you specify a description, and also you set a severity level, which is important because you can trigger different actions regarding different severity levels. And this is the action group. I'm going to discard this because I already have it here running, and I'm going back here to the alerts monitor.
Okay, cool, Pedro. We have just a question that just came in from Marcos. The action of alert can be set to SMS or only by email?
You can have both. At this moment, the SMS alert, it's not working here in Portugal still. So I use webhook and Opsgenie to send those alerts and SMS. Okay. In the United States, you can use already the Azure monitor to push the phone calls, to push the SMS messages. I believe it will come. On the last, I don't know, how much time do I have, guys?
You still have 13 minutes.
13 minutes? Okay.
1-3, yeah.
Okay.
1-3.
We're cool. So how did I set up this Azure monitor? Well, as I said, the monitoring is out of the box on the virtual machine, but you have to collect the information on a workspace. And this is the manual part of using Azure Monitor. You have to connect the virtual machine with a specific workspace to aggregate information on those dashboards. Here on Insights, you have Application Insights, monitor your application. I don't have any. You have virtual machines, and you have the containers that were asked previously about monitoring AKS clusters. And as I've told you, I don't have on this subscription at least one at the moment to show you. Also, you can see here I have several preview options. This is monitoring of storage accounts. You can monitor out of the box the latency, for instance, of the storage account, and also you can monitor capacity.
Pedro, by the way, that's a good point, because we have a question exactly on that. So Charbel is basically asking, we can see that you are on the preview portal. So can they assume that some of the features that you're showing are preview? And by the way, we also have another one that is if you can use alerts to trigger functions, Azure functions. Okay.
Yes, you can. You can use alerts to trigger Azure functions. And with Azure functions, you can do whatever you can develop on a function. And here I'm using the preview portal, and yes, these features, Cosmo DB, storage accounts and networks, they are still in preview, but you can see here, I've shown you a little preview of what's coming for storage accounts, and also here on networks. It's very interesting because you select, let me see here, for instance, the virtual network, no, network interfaces. Let me choose this one. And let me go down. See here, these are my network cards for every VM, every virtual machine I have on my account at this moment, and you can see already here the graphs for the last 24 hours for every virtual machine, every network interface card that I have on these machines. Okay, so you can have a very quick view of the, in this case, network traffic of my virtual machine. This is still in preview. Okay, going back here to the virtual machine, which is not on preview. This is available now. You can see here on the top, I have number of virtual machines that are being monitored, the number of virtual machines not monitored by this workspace. Okay, it doesn't mean these machines are not monitored at all. It only means they are not monitored on this workspace. As I told you, we have to connect the virtual machine with the specific workspace. As you can see here, this virtual machine is connected with a different workspace, so it's being monitored, but not on the current workspace I'm working on. Okay, you can only have a virtual machine connected to one workspace. This is why the design phase is important. Which information do I want to aggregate here? Okay. And okay, let's select the Minecraft server again. From here, you can go to that information I already shown you before, the map and the performance. Probably, okay, let me go back and select this one. It's a resource with several virtual machines, so it will give us a better view of data. Here I have 3 or 4 virtual machines, and the graphs that you see here are the graphs for all of those virtual machines aggregated. You can see here I have a jump box, like a Bastion host. When I created this jump box, Bastion host didn't exist yet. I have 2 domain controllers. I have a SQL node for a SQL cluster, and you can see here the graph for all the virtual machines and the pop-up showing up all of those virtual machines. Here in the map, and this is the interesting part, because I've selected a resource group and not a specific virtual machine, you can see all of the virtual machines here, and you can see the relationship between the virtual machines, and I don't know if you can notice here on the right, it's changing the color of the port while I'm selecting the machines. Here on the right, you can see virtual machine properties like IP address, memory, CPU, number of cores. You can see also Azure virtual machine properties, subscription ID, the size of the virtual machine. This is inventory. You can go to the events. You can see the alerts being fired by this virtual machine. You can see the connections, which ones failed, which ones are live, how many connected clients, how many connected servers. And also you can select the run books from here directly. It's really, really cool, the work it's being done here on the Azure Monitor. Last and least, let's go for, I don't know, let's go here for logs. One thing that I will show you later, it's a training about Kustu. Kustu is a language, a query language you can use. And Kustu is very interesting because you can run, for instance, this query I'm running now. It's running on the update, Windows update, and it's showing the needed updates for my infrastructure. And you can use these queries and you can create alerts on these rules, and you can also trigger actions on these rules. And the action here could be, for instance, auto updating those machines. Looking at the time, I think I'm almost over, so I'm going back here to my slide where I will leave you with 2 more slides. Here you can see where you can get started, the documentation for our Azure Monitor, also some Pluralsight courses I've selected about Azure Monitor. As you've seen earlier, we spoke about the Learn on docs.microsoft.com. You also have 10 resources there. I also have here the URL for the tech community on Azure Monitor. It's a free community you can join. You can post your questions there. And also, next Tuesday, I believe, 28th of April, you can join the Azure Monitor Virtual Series event. It's a free event. I have here the full list of sessions, and you can hear a little bit more about the specifics of the Azure Monitor in each of these aspects: log analytics, infrastructure monitoring, and Azure monitoring best practices. This is free. It's a free event. If you go to the tech community, you'll find the link there to register for the event. And again, I'll leave you with my contacts, and I think we are at the time.
Yeah, we are at the time. Nico is almost ready to set. So if anyone has like one final question that he wants to go ahead, this is the time. Otherwise, we can get Nico ready. He was counting on two more minutes, but I'm not sure if he will have it.
Yeah, I think Nico needs to go.
So, giving the stage to Nico.
Okay, thank you, Pedro, for your amazing session about Azure Monitor. It was really cool. I learned some stuff too with this.